Wednesday, February 5th, 2020, Durango Jail, Phoenix, Arizona, openprison.com. At church on Sunday, President Johnson asked us to memorize 5 scriptures about Jesus to think about while we take the sacrament. The first one I'm working on is Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. President Nelson referred to this scripture in his October 2016 talk on joy. In verse 2, there is a semicolon. I really couldn't say what a semicolon was used for in English. I watched a dozen YouTube videos about semicolons. I downloaded my favorite, Paola Brown English Flash Lesson on Semicolons. When the first group of men arrived, I explained my goal to memorize 5 scriptures and asked who knew what a semicolon was. One man, Johnny, explained his understanding of a semicolon. I showed the video. I repeated this process when the second group of men came and again when the third group of men got there. I asked the men how many semicolons were in their Bibles. The guys said a lot and agreed that it was important to understand. We had quite a discussion on how the semicolon was used in the Hebrew scripture and what it meant. Most of the men were very alert. There were a lot of questions and comments. I went to the yearly volunteer training at the sheriff's office this morning. In the class, the teacher asked if we remembered when we were little telling our friends, "You're not the boss of me." Then she said, "Well, the officers are the boss of you." I wrote this on the whiteboard. The men didn't like this and wanted to argue. I wrote, "The officer is always right," another bullet point from class, on the board. The guys wanted to argue about this also. I raised my hands in the air and said I was just saying what the teacher said in training this morning. After the closing prayer, we watched the semicolon video again. We finished up when the guard arrived and rang the bell. I gave each man a fist bump. When the last man left the room, I said thank you to the officer.